Your support is crucial. With a staggering 90% of our viewers still not subscribed, your support is crucial for us to continue crafting captivating content. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest happenings. Share with us your location. Drop your city in the comments below. Never did I imagine I would arrive at this moment, teetering on the brink of a life meticulously crafted, grappling with doubts that once felt unshakable. My marriage, my home, my role as a wife, a mother, and a cherished member of a tight-knit family. These were the very foundations upon which I had built my life. Yet beneath the facade of this seemingly flawless existence, a subtle pain had started to fester, winding its way through the fissures of my heart, much like ivy clinging to a time-worn wall. I convinced myself it was merely a passing unease, a momentary disruption in the monotony of everyday life. Yet, beneath the surface, a different truth lingered within me. It all started at a family gathering, on one of those summer afternoons that seemed to linger, where laughter and conversation intertwined with the aroma of grilled food and the persistent hum of cicadas, creating an atmosphere thick with unspoken tension. Our families had always been intertwined, connected not just by blood, but by cherished traditions, by holidays spent in each other's company, by the deep, unspoken bond that family was the very essence of life. Among the familiar faces, one stood out in a way that had never captured my gaze before, igniting a spark of curiosity that sent a shiver down my spine. Ethan was my husband's cousin, a figure I had always seen as a mere shadow at family gatherings. Despite our shared history, he lingered at the edges of my consciousness, a distant echo in the tapestry of my life. He lingered in the shadows, a figure of solitude, choosing the edges of the bustling crowd over the spotlight's glare. Yet that summer, an unsettling change enveloped him. Or perhaps it was I who had transformed. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting a delicate lavender hue across the sky, we sat together on the porch, enveloped in a cocoon of quiet, far removed from the clamor of the gathering. Our conversation unfolded as it always did, steeped in courteous questions and the bittersweet echoes of cherished family reunions long gone. Yet, at some point in the journey, everything changed. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, yet beneath the surface, his words carried a weight that struck a chord deep within me, revealing layers I never anticipated. He poured out his heart, sharing his dreams and the weight of his struggles, revealing a deep yearning to uncover purpose in a world that frequently seemed devoid of substance. I listened, entranced not only by his words, but by the profound emotions he stirred within me, making me feel truly seen and understood in a manner I hadn't experienced in years. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something more. A flicker, a shiver, a subtle awakening deep within my heart, and it filled me with dread. In the days that followed, I struggled to cast aside the haunting memory of that evening, desperately attempting to bury it beneath the crushing weight of my responsibilities. Yet Ethan remained in my mind, haunting me like a tune that refused to fade away. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting instance, a brief spark of connection that held no significance in the larger picture. In the end, my heart belonged to my husband. Daniel was a remarkable man, exuding kindness and reliability, the kind of partner that would ignite envy in the hearts of many women. We had forged a life together, a tapestry woven with shared dreams and moments of serene happiness. Yet, despite my efforts to cling to the reasons that urged my heart to stay strong, the widening chasm between us became impossible to ignore. Marriage, I discovered, was far from the enchanting dream I had once envisioned. It was neither a relentless surge of fervor nor a perpetual flow of joy. It was a delicate balance, a familiar rhythm, the gradual intertwining of two souls into a singular existence. And somewhere along the way, amidst the chaos of raising children, managing bills, and confronting the relentless grind of adulthood, the once vibrant spark between Daniel and me had begun to fade into shadows. Our love for each other remained undeniable, a truth I held close to my heart. Yet, it was a love that had settled into a routine, becoming all too familiar, and, if I were to be truthful, somewhat lifeless. Ethan, with his quiet intensity and penetrating gaze, stirred a deep resonance within me, a haunting reminder of the person I once was before the weight of existence became so burdensome. At first, our interactions were laced with a subtle tension, a fleeting smile exchanged across the room during yet another family gathering, a whispered conversation in the kitchen while the others remained blissfully unaware. Yet every second was electric, the atmosphere thick with the weight of things left unsaid. I convinced myself it was nothing, that I was overanalyzing the situation. As the weeks morphed into months, an undeniable pull compelled me to seek him out, an attraction that defied explanation. It wasn't merely his presence that held me in thrall. It was the piercing gaze that seemed to penetrate the mask I wore, revealing the restless, yearning spirit hidden within. I recall the moment our bond shifted from pure innocence to something far deeper, igniting a spark that would change everything. On that chilling autumn evening, the air was thick with the scent of decaying leaves, while the sky unfolded like a dark tapestry, studded with shimmering stars that seemed to whisper secrets of the night. As the evening unfolded at my in-laws' home, the air thick with laughter and conversation, I felt an overwhelming urge to escape the warmth of the gathering. I slipped outside, seeking a fleeting moment of solitude amidst the swirling emotions of the night. I discovered Ethan there, poised against the porch railing, his breath escaping in wisps against the chill of the night air. Our conversation unfolded as it always had, yet this time, an undeniable heaviness lingered in the air, a raw openness that had never graced our exchanges before. I felt as though I had been drifting through my existence, the words escaping my lips before I could hold them back. It feels as though I'm merely existing, trapped in a cycle devoid of true life. Ethan hesitated, silence hanging heavily in the air. He fixed his eyes on the horizon, a storm of thoughts swirling within him. He paused, the weight of his words hanging in the air. "I know what you mean," he finally admitted. At times, a haunting thought creeps in. Could this be the entirety of our experience, merely existing rather than truly embracing the essence of life? His words resonated profoundly within me, and for an instant, we remained there in stillness, the silent connection between us more intense than any words could convey. As he finally turned to face me, his gaze was a tumultuous blend of sorrow and an unnameable intensity, causing my heart to race uncontrollably. In that instant, I realized we were teetering on the edge of a reality that had the power to transform everything. As the fractures in your life start to reveal themselves, they emerge slowly, piece by piece, like shadows creeping across the floor. They gather silently in the corners of your daily life, infiltrating your very essence like water trickling through the cracks of a steadfast rock. The burden of my decisions, those fleeting instances, murmurs in the shadows, and the widening abyss of remorse had ultimately woven itself into the very essence of my soul. I believed I had the strength to endure it. I believed I could navigate two worlds, juggling the identity I once held and the one that had emerged within me. Yet, the truth possesses an uncanny ability to emerge, no matter how fervently one attempts to suppress it. The morning after my encounter with Ethan in the park, an oppressive weight hung in the air. The choice to sever our bond was expected to grant me a sense of relief, maybe even a semblance of closure. Yet, it instead created a deep, unsettling void that gnawed at my very core. The moment loomed before me, the thought of confronting my husband, Daniel, with the truth felt like an unbearable burden, one I was not prepared to bear. I had always taken pride in my strength, in being the type of person capable of enduring any tempest that life threw my way. Yet this tempest was born from my own choices, and the devastation it would unleash filled me with dread. In the days that followed, I found myself engulfed in a fog of introspection, grappling with the unsettling realization of how I had allowed everything to unravel beyond my grasp. I revisited each moment of our marriage, desperately seeking the instances where we stumbled, where the silence crept in and expanded between us. Daniel had always been my anchor, a steadfast and unwavering force in the tumultuous sea of my existence. He was never one to overwhelm me with extravagant displays or fervent proclamations of affection. Yet, his unwavering commitment shone through in the smallest of gestures. Text each morning, He crafted my coffee with an artistry that spoke to my very soul, a ritual that felt like a secret shared between us alone. His grip was a lifeline, a silent promise that we would face the storm together, even when the world felt heavy and uncertain. The calm confidence in his voice instilled a deep sense of hope within me, as if everything would ultimately turn out just fine. And yet, somewhere along the way, he faded from my view. I had ceased to hear. As I lingered at the kitchen table in the stillness of the night, the only sound breaking the silence was the gentle hum of the refrigerator. A weight pressed upon me, and I realized that the moment had come. I could no longer shield him from the truth. The weight of guilt consumed me, and with each glance into his eyes, I was overwhelmed by the feeling of being a fraud. He had to find out, regardless of the pain it would bring him. How do you reveal to the one you cherish that you have shattered their trust? How do you discover the phrases that will dismantle their reality? As I mustered the strength to voice my thoughts, the stillness of that quiet Sunday afternoon hung heavily in the air. The children were away with their friends, leaving the house enveloped in the warm, golden glow of late autumn, a serene yet poignant scene that hinted at the fleeting nature of time. In the dim light of the living room, Daniel sat absorbed in a book, his glasses delicately balanced on the bridge of his nose, oblivious to the world around him. It was a scene so familiar and comforting that, for a fleeting moment, I found myself teetering on the edge of decision, tempted to walk away, to let the moment slip by and keep my secret hidden in the shadows. But then he looked up at me, his gaze filled with warmth and tenderness, and in that moment, I realized the truth could no longer remain concealed. "Daniel," I started, my voice quivering with intensity. "May we have a moment to converse?" He placed the book aside, a subtle furrow appearing on his forehead. "Certainly," he replied, his voice steady yet laced with intrigue. "What thoughts are swirling in your mind?" I settled into my seat opposite him, my fingers intertwined in a tense grip upon my lap. My heart raced with a ferocity that drowned out my own thoughts. The carefully crafted words I had rehearsed countless times in my mind now seemed utterly insufficient, dwarfed by the weight of the truth I was on the brink of unveiling. "I must share something with you," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling, barely rising above a whisper. "There's a truth I've held back from you for far too long." His eyes locked onto mine, revealing a spark of worry, a subtle trace of tension lingering in the air. "All right," he replied with a measured tone. "I'm all ears." And so I revealed the truth to him. I revealed to him the widening chasm that had formed between us, the profound loneliness that had seeped into our marriage, and the way I had unwittingly turned to another for comfort. I recounted the tale of Ethan, revealing the beginnings, the evolution, and the moment I chose to bring it all to a close. I faced the truth head-on, unflinching and unapologetic in my choices. I bared my soul to him, unvarnished and vulnerable, my voice trembling as I unveiled the depths of my truth. As I completed my task, an overwhelming silence enveloped the room, heavy and profound. Daniel's gaze bore into me, a storm of emotions swirling behind his inscrutable expression, his hands gripping his lap with a tension that spoke volumes. The anguish in his eyes was palpable, a haunting reflection of betrayal. Yet there was a fierce determination in him, a struggle to maintain his composure against the tide of emotion threatening to overwhelm him. He remained silent, his restraint palpable in the charged atmosphere. He remained motionless, the gravity of my words enveloping him. "What is the duration of this wait?" he inquired at last, his voice barely above a whisper, thick with tension. "How long has this been unfolding?" "For months," I confessed, my voice quivering with uncertainty. "Yet it has come to an end. The final chapter has closed." I promise, Daniel. I never intended to cause you pain." "Stop," he said, his hand raised, a tense silence hanging in the air. "Enough already." The gaze he cast upon me shattered my very soul. It was a swirling tempest of fury and sorrow, intertwined with an elusive feeling that danced just beyond my grasp. He rose suddenly, his footsteps echoing in the room as he wrestled with the weight of the revelation that had just struck him. My heart ached to reach out to him, to express the depth of my remorse. Yet I was painfully aware that no words could ever mend the hurt I had caused. "I need some time," he said at last, his voice strained and heavy with unspoken weight. "I must take a moment to reflect." As he stepped out of the room, the door closing behind him, I was left in a suffocating silence, the heavy burden of my guilt pressing down on me. In the days that followed, an oppressive weight hung in the air of our home, each moment charged with unspoken fears. Daniel seemed to drift away, his words to me clipped and lacking warmth. He immersed himself in his work, dedicating countless hours at the office and returning home in the shadows of night. In the confines of our home, he shunned my presence, slipping away to the study or the bedroom, leaving silence in his wake. The silence that lingered between us, which once wrapped us in a gentle embrace, now loomed like an insurmountable abyss, a void I was desperate to bridge. I felt an overwhelming urge to connect with him, to plead for his forgiveness. Yet I was lost in uncertainty about how to approach him. I had shattered a delicate bond between us, something invaluable, and I was left in the dark, uncertain if it could ever be restored. One evening, as I was tidying up after dinner, he entered the kitchen, leaning against the counter with his arms crossed, an air of tension hanging between us. For a fleeting moment, he stood there, his gaze fixed on me, an enigmatic expression clouding his features. "We need to talk," he declared at last, his voice unwavering yet resolute. I nodded slowly, placing the dish I had been gripping back into the sink, a weight settling in the air around me. "Understood." With a sweeping motion, he directed my gaze to the dining table, and we settled into our seats, facing one another, the air thick with unspoken tension. The atmosphere was thick with tension, an unyielding silence lingering until he finally shattered it with his voice. He began, his voice steady yet laden with unspoken weight. "I've been reflecting deeply on what you shared with me, but I must ask, why is this happening? What was it about me that fell short for you?" His question pierced through me, and my eyes brimmed with tears as I fought to articulate my thoughts. "It wasn't about you not being enough," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling with emotion. "It was all about me. I was engulfed in a sense of being lost, adrift, and utterly disconnected. Rather than reaching out to you, rather than sharing the turmoil within me, I chose to make the gravest error of my existence. I allowed myself to think that what I longed for was beyond your reach, when in reality, I never truly opened the door for you to step through." He nodded slowly, a storm of thoughts swirling behind his eyes. "I'm not claiming to be without fault," he admitted, a shadow of uncertainty crossing his face. "There have been moments when I felt far away. I realize now how much I overlooked you, but I never anticipated, never envisioned that you would seek solace in another's arms. I'm truly sorry, Daniel," I whispered, my voice heavy with feeling. "I understand the pain I've caused you, and I realize that forgiveness won't come easily. Yet, I am prepared to do everything in my power to mend what has been broken."